So recently my wife was upset by something and I didn't understand why. So I asked her, "Why are you mad at this? Like, what's the big deal here?" And boy, that was a mistake. She then called me an asshole and the conversation was over. Then I realized, hey dummy, you didn't take the time to see the situation from her perspective. So maybe it's not so much that I'm an asshole, it's more that I'm just sucking at empathy. So that's why I made this video. We're going to talk about what empathy is, why it's needed, and how it's a skill that you can actually get better at, like I clearly need to do. So the first thing to understand is that we get so absorbed in our own thoughts, emotions, life situation, and that acts as like a filter on how we see the world, like our own unique life lens, or the fancy science term, your egocentric bias. So empathy is being able to step out of your egocentric bias and remembering that others have their own lens, and then trying to understand that person from their unique perspective or experience. And thankfully, you can get better at this. And when you do get better at accurately understanding others' emotions and thoughts, that's called your empathetic accuracy. So when I asked my wife, what's the big deal? My empathetic accuracy was probably a fat goose egg. This empathetic accuracy isn't just a skill though, it's actually regions in your brain that you can train over time. And some of the benefits are like you have more patience, less snappy reactions, and you're more able to listen without always just needing to say something back. It stops you from making other people's emotions just about you. Not everything is an attack on you. Sometimes people are just struggling. Increase your worldview. You realize your perspective is not the only one, and maybe you might be more receptive to other ideas and viewpoints that you previously weren't without training or get better at empathy. And of course, studies have shown that working on empathy leads to more positive relationships. So how can we get better at our empathetic accuracy to get some of these benefits? Well, luckily it's in things that we're already doing. We just got to be more aware of the situations. So when you're in conversation and talking to someone, don't just wait for your turn to speak. Focus on what they're saying. Notice their tone, maybe the pacing, their body language. There's a lot you can tell by these subtle things that we often overlook. Next time you catch yourself judging someone, like we all do, whether that be on the street, social media, real life, doesn't matter, stop and ask yourself, what might this person be dealing with? What fear or hope or reason is behind their thought process or behavior? And the more we ask ourselves these kind of questions, the more you are causing those empathetic brain regions to wire and over time strengthen. We can also do this in our hobbies, whether you're reading a book, Netflix, listening to a podcast. Treat these people or characters as your empathetic dumbbells, so to speak. Pause and ask yourself, why did they react that way? What are they protecting or wanting beneath the surface? Would I act the same way in their shoes? So next time you're in one of those kind of activities or situations, think about trying one of those questions and you might get a little bit better at empathy. Now, that said, here's a warning, disclaimer here. When practicing empathy, we got to be careful not to take on other people's emotions. That's a common thing with empathy, and there's a tricky balance to understand what others are feeling and thinking without taking it on yourself. So we need to set up boundaries and protect ourselves, otherwise we're not good for anybody. That said, this is your challenge for the week. You got some homework. Next time you catch yourself thinking, I don't get why they do that, like I do, hit pause so you don't get called an asshole. You don't have to understand from your point of view. Instead, ask yourself first, what might their world look like? And then maybe you will make room for their point of view. Because sometimes the best thing you can give someone is just the space to be themselves, the space to be human. All right, that's all I have. Thank you all for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and I will see you all next time.